Hello and welcome to the Success Showcase. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin from the Modern Observer Group, and with me as always is Chip Janiszewski from the Happiness and Success GPS. Chip, how are you doing this week?
Doing great. How about you, Eric?
I'm doing fantastic. Things are going really well?
Absolutely.
Today we're going to talk about your personal brand and how to promote yourself. People do business with people. And it's important that you put together a specific image that you want to project to show people who you are. I mean, now with social media and online communications, image is incredibly important. But getting that message across has always been important. Mark Twain once said, "A lie can get around the world before the truth gets its pants on." And it's true. You want your image and who you really are to be out there for people to see.
Absolutely. And it's with the new digital age that we have right now. One of the articles I read says, according to an average study, 92% of children under the age of 2 already have a digital footprint. And you think about Facebook and other things and whatever, where all the baby pictures and kid pictures are up there. That's already starting to develop. And the bottom line is that branding used to be just for businesses, but with the digital age, obviously one of the first places prospective employers go for employees is they look you up online if they're looking at your resume or something else to see what you have going there. So you got to be very, very careful with your digital footprint there.
All right. Every hiring manager I know, once they read a resume, they go online, put your name into Google, put your name into Facebook, and see what you are putting out there. And it's important for you to control that image.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a bad one, it can hurt you big time. But I like this quote in one of the articles I read. Your personal brand, it could be the secret sauce that can make you stand out in a stack of resumes, especially online and that kind of thing. So it's really cool to work on.
Right. And the benefits are huge. I had a meeting with someone last week. I had never met them before. I walked into the meeting, and the first thing they said to me is, "Oh, I follow your work on Facebook." Immediately, she had an image as to who I was and what I do. And fortunately, because I have pretty good control over what goes on Facebook, and I've crafted an image on there, she knew who I was and what I could do for her. Now, if she had gone on Facebook and not seen anything professional from me and seen pictures of when I was in college at parties and whatever, her image of me would have been very different, and it would not have been as beneficial for me. So everything you put out there becomes part of your brand. And in terms of social media, I always follow a simple rule. If it's not something I would say at Thanksgiving dinner in front of my grandmother, I don't put it on social media.
That's probably a pretty good mantra.
Things can come back to haunt you once you post them. So you really want to be careful. But even more than simply posting is you need to figure out what your brand is, who you are, and who you want to present to people.
Yeah, it really comes back to what we've talked about several times before. It's really personal strategic planning. It's identifying, your emotional appeal, what you stand for, and so on and so forth, personality, describing your interests and skills and that kind of thing, and just crafting things along. So, and obviously in LinkedIn and areas like that, you can start following people and get more information on that kind of thing. But the more you post things like that about useful information that you're interested in and that kind of thing, that goes a long way to showing the type of person you are.
Right. And it's not just about posting on social media. Once you have the image that you want to present, whether it's a business image, whether it's more fun-loving, whether, it could be political if you want, if you're considering running for office. But you need to present a consistent image, and it needs to go beyond social media. We haven't talked much about blogging on this podcast, but blogging is a very important part of creating a personal brand. Because anytime you write an article, and it doesn't have to be a long article. I know a lot of people are uncomfortable with writing articles and writing blogs. It could be a paragraph and a couple of bullet points. That's all you really need. But the more you post, the more there is for people to find. And more importantly, the more you post and the more your information shows up in the search engines, the less likely someone is to find information that may be best left unfound. And I'm not just talking about embarrassing information. When I do workshops about this, I talk about my father. My father passed away in 1981. Pre-internet, no online access, never heard of it. So obviously, he never posted anything online. Now, if you Google my name, you'll go 3 or 4 pages into Google before there's any kind of content that I didn't have control over. So you are seeing what I wanted to put out. If you Google my father, however, you get what's in public databases, which in his case includes a death certificate complete with your social security number on it. So you don't want information like your social security number being easily found.
Absolutely not.
So the more you post, blog entries, social media, websites, when you put this information out there, you're not just creating an image for yourself, you're actually protecting yourself. And I'm sure by the time you're listening to this, everybody knows about what happened with Equifax and the hack that stole all sorts of personal information. Anything you can do to keep your personal information private is a plus. And this is a simple, inexpensive way to do it. So you're not just creating a business image or a personal image. You're making sure that what people find is public information rather than your private information. And let's face it, now, it's not just about getting a job or building a business. When you meet somebody for the first time, you're going to go on a date with somebody. 75% of the population Googles who they're going out with to see what they find.
Oh, absolutely. And, obviously with Match.com and the other websites whose purpose it is to connect people, that's all there.
All right. But even, Match.com, it's about creating a profile. Same as you would on Facebook, same as you do on LinkedIn, just for a different purpose. But people don't stop there. They investigate who you are. They put your name into search engines because people want to know who they're getting involved with, whether on a personal or a business basis. So making sure that you put information out there and that it's information that you are comfortable with and creating the image you have decided to put forward. Now, I've used that term already a couple of times, creating an image. But the fact of the matter is, the image you are putting out has to be authentic. It has to be you. If you are creating an image that where you're putting on airs, and then when somebody gets to know you, you're nothing like that, it's going to turn people off. Again, both personally and in the business world. So when you create your persona, you really have to understand who you are, what you do, and how you relate to people. And the better you understand yourself, the better you can relate to other people and present that information so that people are comfortable with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And, businesses themselves, they talk about developing value propositions. It's something that you got to work on personally for yourself. What do you really stand for? What do you really bring to the table? That kind of thing. And the more that you can put together, I mean, if you're working on a resume, if you're working in college as far as what you want to do, and you start writing these things down and organizing these things, just highlight what stands out and start making something out of that. And as you said, it's good to start getting online, looking stuff up, maybe writing a little bit of a blog or so on and so forth. Or if somebody else has got something that's going on, you want to make a really positive comment on that, that's a great way to do that too. If you show appreciation out there and give back in a lot of different ways, that goes a long way in helping you out with your personal brand.
Right. And your personal brand extends not just to what you write, but how you respond to what other people write. If you're one of these people that every time there's a political article, you post all sorts of negative comments and hateful language, that's going to become your brand, and people are going to deal with you on that basis. And quite frankly, people do not want to be around negative people. So if that's what you're putting out, the only thing you're doing is hurting yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just like getting in a conversation at work or so on and so forth where somebody's a target, and you got to stay away from those kind of things. And online, if you get that reputation, it seems like people by nature, they like to talk about stuff like that and to be in with the crowd, but nobody likes being a victim, and nobody on the outside likes hearing that kind of thing. And people have got to realize that it's just a turnoff. So from a personal development standpoint, it's really important to work on throwing out judging and criticizing and so on and so forth, and certainly don't put that online.
All right. And to be clear, we're talking about the attitude. You can disagree with people all you want, as long as you're doing it constructively, as long as you're doing it with respect for their point of view and expecting respect for your point of view. There's a difference between being negative and disagreeing. You can disagree in a positive way. And that's the key. You don't want to start name calling. You don't want to be a flamer, as they're called online. You don't want to be picking fights for the purpose of picking fights. All of that will come back to haunt you when you go for a job, when you try to meet people. That negativity becomes part of who people expect.
Yeah, it's all in the approach. And the word of advice here, as we talk about all the time, is to make yours positive. It is your choice. So, we've talked in the past about how to win friends and influence people. There's a lot to that kind of thing. So you have to work on that.
Right. And it really is up to you how you respond to things. I mean, as we're recording this, news is still coming in about the mass shooting in Las Vegas. And there's already been a lot of conversation online about it. And most of it is along the lines of sending out positive hopes, and our hearts go out to the people. And that's great because you want to be spreading hope. But I have seen a series of comments that were so hateful, and it didn't do the poster any good to put this up there. In fact, the entire group where he posted these conversations turned against him because talking about a tragedy, they decided to input their own political hate, and it was inappropriate. You may disagree with what's going on, but you have to understand when and where to express that, because that also becomes part of your brand. It's not just what you say and how you say it. It's where you say it. It's when you say it. You're completing a brand. You're completing an image. And that image encompasses everything you are. It's what you say. It's what you look like. It's how you respond to people. It's what you sound like. In many cases, it's what you smell like. You are creating a brand of who you are, an image, and you want that image to be of somebody who works with people, who is ready to take advantage of an opportunity, and who people can come to with opportunities and with situations where they may need your help.
Yeah, and having the image of being level-headed, of taking a little bit of a pause to analyze things before reacting, that goes such a long way, obviously with an online presence, but it's going to help you out professionally and personally also. So it's really important. We've talked about mindfulness a lot. If you just take a little deep breath without judging something after you've heard something before you start reacting to things, that's so important. Just these little things that you train yourself to do can go a whole long way.
Right. And there are times when it is difficult to control your emotions. And I do this more often than I would like to admit. I will see something online and I will type out a response to it. However, I don't hit send. I look at what I wrote and I think, is this going to make the situation better, or is it just going to drag me into a useless argument?
Yeah. Is it a quick fix for you, or is it really, really going to help? And I mean, this has been throughout the history of the world. There's examples where Abraham Lincoln wrote stuff and everything else, a lot of thrown away letters and so on and so forth. And obviously it's good therapy to write it down. But again, the reaction, that that's the step where you actually affect other people by showing it to somebody, that's where it can really, really hurt you if you really haven't thought it out ahead of time and understand the pros and the cons of what you are about to do.
Right. So, I mean, it's great to respond to things and, get your feelings out. But before you hit send, before you show it to somebody, make sure that what is being said is adding to the conversation rather than inflaming it. And sometimes read what you are putting out there several times before you hit send. I actually had a situation several months ago where I posted something online and I didn't think much of it. And the responses I got were completely out of left field from what I had expected. Because I had apparently not been clear enough about what I was saying. And if you're not clear, people put their own expectations in it. So people thought I was attacking them when actually I was simply suggesting something else they could be doing. In fact, what it was people were protesting. I'm not going to get into what they were protesting or why. And I made the suggestion that if they really felt strongly about this, there were several charities that supported this that they could donate to. I apparently was not clear about what I was saying because they thought I was attacking them for protesting. So you need to be clear about what you're putting out. And
ask yourself how you'd feel being on the receiving end of what you're writing. Really look at it from that.
And fortunately, I have built over years and years a specific personal brand so that there were a lot of people who, when someone said, "Did you see this post? Can you believe he said that?" They went, wait a minute. I don't think you're reading this right. So, and that's another thing that building your brand does for you, is that when there is a misunderstanding, if I had been the type of person that constantly attacked people and was constantly negative about things, nobody would have given me the benefit of the doubt. But because they know who I am, they've seen all of this information about me, they went, wait a minute. Let's see what he actually meant.
No, and you do, obviously, the big part of your brand is getting out there and sharing a lot of useful information for people. So that is obviously a part of your brand that is very, very strong, which gives you the benefit of the doubt in a lot of instances, I would imagine. So
exactly. And that actually brings up a good point. Everything I post online is not something that I have created. You don't have to spend time writing to create all of this information. A lot of what I post are magazine articles that I have read that I go, oh, this is good information. People can benefit from this. Let me share it.
Yep. Why reinvent the wheel?
Right. I don't have to rewrite all of these things. This is good information. Let me just send it out and give it to people. And because of that, I post quite a lot online, but I'm not actually spending that much time doing it because I'm not writing all of these things. I'm just in the day-to-day, as I come across things that are interesting, that I think are useful, I share them with people. And that can be magazine articles. It can be events. If you're involved in a cause, it can be information from the cause you're supporting. There's all sorts of things you can put out there, and it all becomes part of who you are. And sharing all of this information. I mean, I'm actually a very big, and from the amount I post online, people would not necessarily suspect this, but I am actually a huge advocate for privacy. I think everybody deserves privacy. I think everybody needs to keep certain things that are just for themselves. Creating this image, creating this brand actually helps me protect my privacy. Because this is a public persona. This is what I have put out. And when people meet me one-on-one, they see that it's genuine. I mean, they see it's not just a character I've created. It really is who I am. Well, because they feel, oh, okay, there's all of this information out there. I know who this person is. I've met him. It's all consistent. I know who he is. If there are certain things that I keep private, perhaps, and I'm not saying this is all about me, but some situations that you may want to keep private would be a personal tragedy.
Yeah.
a relationship that, didn't go well, you don't want to talk about. You have the right to keep these things private. And because people see everything else you're putting out, they can respect that. They go, okay, I know a lot about this person. I don't need to know everything. And so you put out this public persona, but you still have things that you can keep private. And you don't have to post about everything. You don't have to reveal everything. But you create your image, and it allows you that freedom that this is the part of me that I share publicly. Whether I'm meeting you in person, whether you're looking at what I'm doing online, if I'm doing business with you, if I have a personal friendship with you, this is who I am publicly. And this is my values. This is what I do. This is how I approach things. And then there's who I am privately. And the key is the private me has the same values that the public me does. Because without that authenticity, nobody is going to believe the image you're putting forward. But it does allow me to keep certain things private. And everybody needs certain things that they don't need open to scrutiny. And this gives you a way to deflect from those things.
Yeah, you absolutely want to be able to control things yourself, and you got to be really, really diligent as far as what you want to get out there. I know that you've done a fantastic job doing that, and that's food for thought for everybody because, everybody is human and everybody's got things that they've done or that they don't want out in public and so on and so forth. Nobody here is perfect. So it's so important to really plan for it and put out exactly what you want to put out. And very, very importantly is when you're out in public and so on and so forth, networking with other people, being that same person. You got to be genuine the whole through. You want your genuine self out there online, offline, in every situation. And then when you want to go home and talk about yourself and the other things and so on and so forth, that is your private life.
Right. Whenever you are dealing with people, you have to deal with them genuinely. From a point of honesty. This is who I am. This is what I do. Even if some of those things aren't incredibly positive. We all have character flaws. That's fine. Own up to them. Say, yes, I could do this better, but this is who I am. Right now, this is me. As long as you accept your flaws, you're comfortable with them, and you have enough respect for the people you're talking to and talking with to understand they come from a different place. They have their own character flaws. They have their own points of view. We don't all have to be cookie cutter people. And in fact, we shouldn't be.
No, and people appreciate it when you say that you're not.
Right. I mean, I think it was Judy Garland who said, I would rather be a first class me than a second class copy of somebody else. And it's true. You want to be who you are, your individual self. It's not something you have to apologize for. You don't need to agree with everybody. You don't need to walk lockstep with everybody else. It's fantastic if you walk to the beat of your own drum. As long as you respect somebody else walking to the beat of their own drum that may not agree with yours. That's part of your brand, your image, is this is what I believe. You don't have to believe what I believe. You can believe whatever you want. That's fine. The same way you can't try to bend to what somebody else wants you to be. You shouldn't make somebody else try to bend to what you want them to be. Be yourself. Let everybody else be themselves as well. And on that note, we're running out of time. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway from this week?
Your personal brand is the brand that you want people to think of you whenever they see you online, whenever they see you in person. So make it your genuine self and enjoy.
Yeah. I would say the big takeaway is put your best foot forward and let everybody see it. Show them that that's who you really are. You've been listening to the Success Showcase. You can catch us every week at blogtalkradio.com/success showcase. You can also find us on the iTunes Store and the Apple Podcasts app. Remember, make this week your best week ever and make next week even better. See you then.